Our guest today has been in home service marketing for over a decade.
Several contractors that we've helped grow 3 million up to 20 million.
How long does it take to actually start getting those leads?
Take us through the levels of SEO.
It's really the link building and the content marketing. That's what gives power to any SEO campaign.
If you have a contractor out there who said, I'm going to get on ChatGPT.
ChatGPT is not going to come up with firsthand experiences.
What have you seen in trying to set a strategy up from slow months to busy months?
Content is what drives a lot of the results.
Why should a contractor invest in the SEO?
If you ever want to have a marketing budget as low as 5%, SEO is always the thing that achieves that.
Welcome to Beers with Contractors.
Tradies, another week of Beers with Contractors. Tara. Cheers to you, buddy.
How you doing, Will?
I'm doing great. And for our 4 or 5 listeners out there, I want to be very clear. I am taking the first bit of the show today to express my thanks for what a good friend Terry is, because he brought, actually most of the time I think you bring the beverages to the show.
Yeah. Because
in between shows, at the end of the day, I will take said beverages out of the fridge and have some. Mm-hmm. And then I drink through our inventory. It's actually back to like one of our financial episodes. Like we have inventory, and then of course those inventories are invoiced to Will's gut in the form of brewskis. Yeah. And then Terry always texts me kind enough before he comes to the studios and says, "Hey, do you need anything?" And I'm like, "Yeah, can you get some beer?" Because I kind of ran through your stockpile.
Well, I mean, how many times have you like gone to the warehouse ready to send a crew out and you don't have the supplies you need?
Yeah, you know, well, that's right. You're double checking, so you're just being efficient, which is another good case study, Terry, of why, if you are listening, please support our sponsors, because maybe we can level up after another sponsor, and then we'll get a kegerator.
That is a dream.
We'll even have a kegerator sponsor. Are we just selling out at that point?
I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, we're introducing the construction trades to a whole bunch of young people that might otherwise not know about them. And we're drinking beer while doing it. Like, not with the kids, but, beforehand.
Yeah. We're doing it responsibly.
Yeah.
As says our disclaimer at the end of the show, please listen to that because it's at the very last 30 seconds of the show. Of course, the most perfect spot for drinking responsibly. But nevertheless, Terry, let's get rolling today.
Yep.
Be sure to like, subscribe. If you get a chance, hit that notification button. We do actually read through all your comments, and sometimes we respond to them. Except if you are a troll and you notice us kind of a sarcastic comment, that's my wife, Sydney, replying to those. She's much more clever at those than I am. But yeah, speaking of subscribers, I went ahead and threw, 8 or 9 on there. So Mark Grisham, Miss Princess 261, Rob Purvis, Andrew Aviles, Tony S 111, Chris Haggerty, Kevin Sandura, Jacob Kessler. Thanks for subscribing, guys. Appreciate you guys very much for doing that, supporting our cause. Be sure to also check out the store and our linky down at the bottom in the description, because obviously our Contractors Kick-Ass gear goes and supports mine and Terry's nonprofit, our construction camp for kids.
Yep.
Appreciate you guys. Terry, you ready to level up your marketing game today?
It can't hurt. I promise you that.
Well, we're going to learn about did a few episodes ago. We're going to learn all about some different acronyms today. But also, I had a prep conversation with this gentleman who was referred to me. He said some things that were like really against the grain, but were financially smart things. And I'm like, oh yeah, we got to get you on the show. So our guest today has been in home service marketing for over a decade, helping companies go from 3 million to 20 million plus. We got some cool case studies to show this today. Some of these companies achieve successful exits due to low marketing spend. As the owner of Signature Media, he helps owners with the frustration of all those little marketing tasks that, quite honestly, we're not very good at, are we, Terry? We'd like to think we are. But this includes assisting with appointments, bookings, review generation, sales processes, all sorts of stuff. And we'll put the website down. They do all sorts of cool things rather than just trying to pump money to Google. His expertise spans from SEO, Google Business Profile Optimization, PPC, social ads, media buying, and other lead generation strategies to ensure contractors maximize their marketing budgets and achieve not just minimal and quarterly growth, but sustainable growth, which is what we want through seasonality. So I am excited to introduce the owner of Signature Media, Parker Ruiz. Hey, Parker, thank you, thank you, sir.
Absolutely. Thank you, Will. Thank you, Terry, for having me.
Yeah, and let's go ahead and get the frustrating part out of the way. What part of sunny, beautiful Florida are you in right now?
Yeah. I'm in Palm Beach County. It's actually a pretty windy day. It's 40-mile-an-hour gusts, and we have a cold front coming through, which is going to reach freeze in the low 60s next week. So.
Low 60, cold. I know. I love how our Drake produces our show to where it's just the cameras on just the person speaking, because nobody got to see Terry roll his eyes through half of the screen just now.
Well, I mean, I think we were at some point we were in the 30s, and then we were in the 60s or 70s, all within 24 hours, and wind and misery and all that.
Oh yeah. Well, Parker, before we dive in, because I think we see a lot of this in the home services space where it's like, hey, I do marketing, but I have no clue what goes on in your world. I'm good at a keyboard jockeying. But you were kind of brought up through this a little bit, even at a young age. So let's walk through how you got into this business and how you started Signature.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been doing this digital marketing for foundation repair contractors, home service contractors, since I was a teenager, even before I graduated high school. My dad had a house painting company. I had friends who their dads had house painting companies, right? But they were millionaires. We were not. I'll just put it that way. I really gave this a lot of thought, and it came down to, I'm pretty sure they're getting more leads than we are, because my dad, his lead generation tactic was to pray. so he would get down on his knees and pray. That's all, we did enough to get by. That's great. That's still how we do our lead generation today too. So I built his website, built it a couple of times. It was really bad. I mean, I was not good at this from day one, and scratched it several times, rebuilt it. Fast forward, he ended up closing down his business and moving to Georgia. So I had these skills now that I was developing, and I ended up getting a job. I was 17 years old working for a trenchless pipelining company down here in South Florida. The co-owner had a geotechnical firm. So I was exposed to soil grouting, micropiles. He did a lot of really crazy projects, from even installing basements below sea level on Palm Beach Island, which is a pretty cool thing to do. Got exposure early on, worked for that company for about 3 years, honed my craft a little. During the whole process, I was building up my business clientele on the side, reaching out through LinkedIn, establishing connections, to the point where I was working way too much. It was 5 a.m. to 8 a.m. in the morning, and then after work from 6 p.m. until I passed out at the computer, basically. And came to a point where I was able to make the plunge after about 3 years. I had formed Signature Media already, but I went full-time after about 3 years, and now it's been about 8 years full-time with Signature Media, my own agency. Now we have over 20 on our team, and several contractors that we've helped grow, like you mentioned, from 3 million up to 20 million, and then even having successful exit with a venture capital backed company in the industry. So hopefully I was able to make that brief enough.
Yeah.
No, that's great. So, I mean, Parker, a lot of what we're going to be talking today talks about marketing and SEO. What does SEO stand for?
That would be search engine optimization.
And that's everyone, instead of using the phone book, they're going through a search site and trying to be that top hit that they get.
Yeah, absolutely. So the effort in search engine optimization is you have to compete. You have to do a lot of stuff, jump through the hoops to show up at the top of Google. You'll hear people say that, I can get you #1 spot on Google. That's the effort of SEO. So you end up getting those free clicks rather than having to pay per click. So that's kind of the benefit of it there. You're not affected by swings in pricing with Google Ads if you do SEO right.
Well, let me rewind. Terry, for our younger listener, what is a phone book? I'm just kidding. You don't have to answer that.
No, I guarantee you might.
I'm sure that, don't worry. They got ChatGPT. They can Google that. So,
when was the last time you've seen one, Will?
actually, I was mailed one like earlier this year, and I was like, they're still making these? Like, there's some old salesman out there still pushing these things, like making a living. And I'm like, damn.
But
like,
have you noticed they've gotten a lot smaller?
oh, yeah, they've gotten a lot smaller. Yeah. But yeah, so actually, let's peel back this layer, Parker, because search engine optimization, it's like hocus pocus, man. Like there's so much involved in it, but it is one of the cheaper, more reliable forms of lead gen. So like take us through the levels of SEO and all the different parts, because I think that's a broad term, especially to the unexperienced contractors out there, that it's just like, oh, we've just got to keep throwing money at it, but they don't know that that's the long game. So let's break that down. Like, what are the different levels that are used to maximize SEO?
Yeah, absolutely. And I've thought about this for several years, trying to figure out the one-liner, how to describe it perfectly. I'm not there yet, but hopefully I'll give you what I have. So if you think of the internet, Google, whatever, the internet is made up of content and links, right? You click on links and you go to content. So any search engine optimization strategy has to have link building and content creation. Otherwise, you're not really doing SEO. You Google SEO near me right now, and you're going to find probably several hundred in your neighborhood, right? Everybody does SEO. Everybody does marketing. So really cutting through all that and figuring out what is real or what's not. Who do I believe? That's been the challenge for a lot of our clients, because you can get a quote for $300 a month for SEO, and it just, your invoice says SEO. That's it. And you're getting it.
You're getting something.
You're getting something, yeah. So you want to look out for that kind of thing. But in short, SEO involves, there's the technical stuff I won't bore you with that really is not the most time consuming part of SEO. It's really the link building and the content marketing. That's what gives power to any SEO campaign, because you can only play with the settings on a website for so long. That's what sometimes SEO, you could literally just sit down and log into your website and do something on the keyboard really quick and say that was SEO. And so I encourage contractors to look out for quantifiable things in their SEO proposal, like content. If you can quantify that, how many blog articles are you going to do? How many new pages of content will you write? Is there a limit on that? What's the frequency of publishing content? And backlinks. And you want to be careful about backlinks. So there's websites out there where you can put 1,000 backlinks in your shopping cart, checkout, and then you get 1,000 backlinks from, someone out there who has built a bunch of different websites, and they're all owned by the same person. So there's really right ways and wrong ways to do it. The thing I would say to look for is look for case studies. If you're working with somebody, make them prove that they have achieved what you're trying to achieve. If they can't prove that, then you have no way of knowing, really. But that's what it oftentimes comes down to, is the track record.
Yeah, so let's break that down a little bit, Parker. For example, contractors specifically, they're really good at taking pictures of their jobs, and then off they go. They just post pictures on Facebook, right? And then it's like, hey, you need to put that on your website, but they don't even have a gallery page or anything. And then they're like, oh, cool, we'll just create a gallery page and drop them in. But they don't do anything with it beyond that. And it's like, it's taking the same action and not maximizing it. So, just like take all these links and pictures and things like that. How can a contractor use that, leveraging an SEO company, better, so they're all tethered together into this ecosystem that's driving SEO?
Yeah, great question. So a lot of times what we do with clients, we have a content marketing strategy where we have what you would call like an editorial calendar, where we have our topics, what we're going to write about, what kind of content we're going to create. A big challenge and a big SEO factor these days is the quality of your content, specifically, another acronym for you, EEAT. If you want to look that up on Google.
Terry's here looking up like ET phone home.
Well, no, that's the great thing is you get into any of this, anytime you step out of what your focus is, right? If you get into marketing or search engine optimization, all this, you are the expert in this, or individuals in your business. I don't think contractors want to learn that. They want to learn what gets them that next lead. They don't want to have to go back to school to learn how to do a job that is just part of what they need to be doing. They want to hire someone.
Yeah, or worse, they hire their 16-year-old son to do it for them. Just kidding, Parker. But no, I see that where contractors are doing that. It's like, well, here's my teenage son or daughter. And it's like, hey, can you make a website for me? And it's like, cool, we're good. And then they don't do anything with it.
When I first started in what I do, I would build websites. I thought I was going to be a web designer. because that's what people wanted, right? Everybody asked for a website. But then I started building these nice looking websites, and I'd be like, all right, thank you very much. Let's pay the balance, and here's your website. I'd get phone calls. Why am I not getting leads? I was like, what did I sell you? I just sold you a website. I didn't sell you leads or anything. But there is that impression that you build it and they will come, right? Like this website will result in business. And unfortunately, that's just not what happens. There's a whole lot of other work that has to be done.
Well, and that kind of leads into a question I have to imagine you get asked, Parker, is how long does it take to actually start getting those leads? Because everyone knows contractors are exceptionally patient and good at sitting on their hands after they've invested money.
Yeah, that is the age-old question. How long will it take? And we get that question a lot. And I've had experiences where in the first month, our clients are like, hey, whatever you're doing is working. We're getting a ton of leads. And I've had clients that have had to wait like a year and a half for things to really start proving in ROI. Because there's a difference between seeing the results in the data. Like, oh, you're getting more. Your rankings are moving from your position 100 on Google. Now you're 50. A few months later, it took us to go from 150. Nobody goes that far into Google anyway. So it can take time to get to positions 1 through 3 where people are actually clicking, right? That can take some time. These things can be expedited to some extent because like we mentioned earlier, content is what drives a lot of the results, not all of it. So if you're going to do 1 page of content a month, it's going to take longer than if you were doing 100 until you had enough, 100 articles or something, pages on the website for the first 3 months. So these things can be expedited. They can be content projects, can be scoped out where this is what we're going to build. Here's the blueprint. How long do you want to take to do this? This is what it's going to cost. If you want to take 3 years to do it, to have this low retainer, it'll take 3 years, right? But if you want to expedite it, we can cram that work into a shorter period of time, get it done, and then still you have to wait on Google. So
Yeah.
I generally say 6 months to a year. Just be prepared to invest for a year at least.
Well, and it would appear to me with the competitive landscape, it never stops, right? You get it up to level 1, and you got a competitor trying to get level or that first slot. So you constantly have to be updating. I think this is a great segue, Parker, is like, to the folks that say, well, why should I invest in that when I can get immediate gratification from paid ads? Tell me a little bit about how you would respond to that, because one presents a healthy lifestyle, but the other one is a healthy lifestyle in marketing business. But I know, Terry, don't look at me like that. I know I'm not the poster child of a healthy lifestyle, but it was a metaphor, Terry, not my lifestyle. But but no, like why should a contractor invest in the SEO rather than just saying, hey, let me just chunk money paid and then run with it? So
Generally what I've found, if you ever want to have a marketing budget as low as 5% or even lower, SEO is always the thing that achieves that. If you want to grow on just ads, paid ads, billboards, TV, Google ads, nothing wrong with that. But those prices go up with supply, with demand. The slow season, you're going to pay even possibly 10 times as much for a lead. But SEO, we did this exercise where we tracked the return on investment for SEO or organic leads. And you can use lead attribution software like CallRail. I think that was mentioned in one of your previous podcasts to really know where your leads are coming from. So I always say the numbers don't lie. So follow your leads and do the math yourself. Even those companies that are not really investing in SEO may find that SEO is still their highest return on investment lead source. We find that organic SEO leads tend to convert at a higher rate. We did this exercise with a client where we pulled in all their different lead sources that we could attribute in CallRail, Google Organic, Google Ads, and we followed those leads through in their CRM and built out a report. It was pretty painstaking to do that. But we saw that their organic leads had a closing rate 2 to 3 times higher than their Google Ads leads. So why is that? When people find you organically, they've done a little more research, right? They're not just clicking on the first thing at the top. Sometimes people just click that first result and then call. It's like, oh, I got the wrong business. Sorry. I just clicked on the first thing that I saw. But when people have gone through your website and they found your content, they've read it, that you've educated them a little bit.
Yeah.
And so that's the difference with organic leads. You have to create content so they've consumed that content, and they generally convert at a higher rate as well.
Well, Parker, this is so crazy when we're talking about just content, because I had a website person many, many years ago saying, hey, you need to just write some blogs. So I just went just nutso writing blogs. And obviously we didn't dump them all on the website at once, but I had this one blog, and still to this day, we are still getting 7 years later, people clicking through this blog. And all it was, it just blows my mind. The blog's title was, Why is the dirt in Oklahoma red, or the soil in Oklahoma red? And all I did was go through the science on why it's red. And like, we've gotten leads from that. And it's just like, wait a minute, why the fuck is that what's driving people to it? But have you seen some other just weird examples of things where you think like you're aiming for here, but really SEO is just trying to capture like the questions that people have, right? So what's some other example or wild ones that you've seen that have just been massive lead gen tools for people?
Tradies, running your small business can be demanding. You got suppliers you got to work with. You're managing crews. Hell, you're chasing sales. It's a lot to take in. Listen, if you want to grow your business, you got to stop working in it and you got to start working on it. So that's where my friends at Foundation Rescue Supply come in. You're not just getting foundation repair products and waterproofing products and air quality control products. With their nationwide distribution, you're getting a partner who knows how to help you scale. And that's why I use them. The Foundation Rescue Supply team has industry knowledge that'll help make your life easier. You get the tools, the trainings, the systems that you need to move the needle. You know, you want your sales team to close more leads? Done, because they have the proven process for that. You need your crews to work smarter, not harder? Done. Their installation training will get you out there and rocking and rolling in the field. With Foundation Rescue Supply, you're not just buying materials here, you're buying a better business system that they have helped create. And you sell more, you install more, and you grow your team. So the bottom line is this: you get best industry pricing, you get field productivity on track, and you get more revenue out of everybody on your team. So this is your chance to step up, scale up, and thrive. If you are ready to make that happen, head to foundationrescuesupply.com, check out their catalog, and speak to my friends, their team, how you can take beyond the products with your company with Foundation Rescue Supply.
I wrote a piece of content myself when I was at that pipelining company. It was just called 10 symptoms or 10 signs you have a damaged sewer pipe. I'm a slow writer. I have a writing team now. They're much better and faster than me, but that took me a while to write that. And I guess it was good. I did a lot of research. I quoted references. I really tried to back up everything that I said with evidence. That article, it was getting close to 10,000 page visits a month. And it still is actually driving leads for that company. And it's been, man, that was back in 2013. So it's been a while, but that really illustrates when you create content. I'm sure you're familiar with like a sales funnel or the buyer's journey.
Mm-hmm.
I like to think of content as you have different types of content for the different stages there. They're walking around their house and they observe something that triggers the thought, what's going on here? I got a crack in my drywall. What is that? So they start searching crack in drywall. Now you can have content, a whole blog article. What is a crack in drywall? What does that mean? And dive into it. Now they've read your article and they're like, oh man, this could be a foundation problem. Oh man. So they start typing different things in, right? Their search evolves through that buyer's journey. The keywords change. They do their homework and they get to a point where they're like, I think I need to get an inspection done to know for sure. So they might start searching things like foundation contractors near me. And those are the money keywords that everybody wants to rank for when someone has gone through the journey and now they are looking to find a local contractor. Now that's where you really want to be, but you can get their attention by producing that blog content. Now, if you show up, they read your blog and you show up later, now they already have this trust. Oh man, this is the contractor that I learned about this from. Let me contact them. So it's really amazing how it can work. It sounds silly, blogging, right? But you've seen it firsthand. It works.
So, Parker, you talk about trust, right? Like you said, you're a relatively slow writer, right? So if you have a contractor out there who said, I'm going to get on ChatGPT and produce something relatively quick and put it out there as my own words, is that going to work for them?
You know, we talked about the EEAT earlier. That acronym stands for experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. So that's what you want to aim for when you're writing content. So ChatGPT is not going to come up with firsthand experiences. It's not going to use your expertise. So that's really what Google looks for. You don't want to just have what everybody else has. And really the bar for content creation has been elevated. The playing field has been leveled now that everybody can just produce mass quantities of content. So you still have to be better than the next option. So that's where you got to go the extra mile. You may produce GPT content and see what happens. You know, Google is not opposed to you using GPT or any kind of AI to help you write content, but it still has to provide value to the user that they can't just get anywhere else.
So
yes.
So maybe you have a contractor using that for some base information and then putting in their personal experience about what they've seen or how they've addressed that in their business.
Yeah, you know, the jury is still out on these things, right? SEO is all about testing. So you focus on creating high quality content, usually the benefits will come. If you're trying to rig the system, usually Google builds algorithms to make that difficult. So usually I've always focused on just quality first. Google cares less about how you do that than just the fact that you've done it and it's high quality. So hopefully that answers your question. It's like using a calculator to do math. You know, you still get the same result.
Well, on the AI front, Parker, I mean, are you finding where ChatGPT can be used for anything? I mean, and I don't know this, I'm genuinely curious because we're finding so much stuff out now, but can AI be used to do anything for the link building that you were mentioning before?
It's not going to build a backlink. So it may be able to help you find websites that you might want to be featured on. There's a lot of SEO tools for that. So, but it can help you in a lot of ways. And I think we're still discovering, even at Signature Media, different ways to use it. It's probably something it could help with.
But that's where bringing in an outside organization or a third party that specializes in that part of the business pays off, right?
Yeah, you really want to be careful with link building. You need some specialized tools to check the authority of the website. You don't want a website that has a high spam score. So Moz.com has that spam score metric that you can use. So it's kind of their reputation online. It's not directly from Google, but it is a metric that indicates, you know, is this a spam website? You don't want that kind of link going to your site. And you also don't want to get caught up in any kind of link scheme. For example, you could have 5,000 websites all hosted on the same server owned by the same organization. And Google knows that, right? They know where these sites are hosted and they can tell this is a scheme, you know, a network of sites. If all of those sites are linking to your site, that kind of tells them that you may have purchased these backlinks.
Yeah.
So just having links is not enough. It's got to be high quality, relevant links. And usually that involves some sort of manual outreach to the owners of websites. And that's what we do. It's like a white glove outreach. We find their contact information. We reach out to them. We arrange to contribute content to their website. That's kind of how that organic link building goes.
Hey, Parker, bear with me. This is a little bit of a side quest in our journey here. But Terry, don't shake your head.
I don't want to go on a quest with you. This isn't like Dungeons and Dragons or whatever
Terry,
it is.
This just makes me think about it. Like, how are universities dealing with the AI thing? Like, for plagiarism?
In the classroom?
Yeah.
So obviously within each one of our classes, the faculty member is able to discuss and basically say what level of AI it's going to be used or allowed, right? And so in those classes, what I view it as is the students need to learn it as a tool, right? If that tool is something that's able to help them communicate better their assignments and their position, then great. And what I tell the students is you always want to know how to use that tool. You never want to let that tool do your job, because if it does, I'm going to just get the tool and I'm not going to hire you. But what you end up seeing, and it's relatively easy, is I can tell when a student comes in with AI on an assignment, pretty much like that. I mean, like, you know, it's very generic, very formal. The students aren't that way. They communicate in a very different way than ChatGPT is going to throw out something.
Yeah. Well, I find it interesting. Like if you're going to school for computer science, they would encourage AI because it helps you solve problems, right? But if you're maybe a grammar or an English major, probably not so much. But sorry, this is not Beers with Poets. This is Beers with Contractors. So let's get back on topic, Terry. Sorry, that was my side quest. Hey, this is funny because in our pre-call check today, Parker, you mentioned this. First off, you said ROAS. I immediately pictured that scene from, gosh, what was the Chris Farley movie, Terry, where they were like ROAS, ROAS. It's Black Sheep. It was in Black Sheep. And I was like, all right, I'm going to put this in my questions. First off, Parker, what the hell is ROAS? Educate me, please.
Yeah, not a problem. So ROAS means return on ad spend. So it's a metric that we all know what ROI is. It's basically the marketing version of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's what I thought. It was one of those where I was like, is it ROI?
I was going to say, usually it's expressed as a number like 1 through 50. And you'll see like a little X next to it, like a 50X ROAS.
Mm-hmm.
So what that means in the most simplest of terms is if you have a 50X ROAS, that means for every dollar you spent on marketing or advertising, you got 50 back in revenue.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a very high ROAS. But
yeah,
there is actually a direct correlation to a ROAS multiple and your marketing budget percentage. So I actually have this chart somewhere. I don't have it with me right now, but if you chat GPT, it'll tell you what the conversion is basically.
So what's a good number then, Parker? Like if I spend $1, and I know you're talking that you have that information and going to make you go find it apparently. If I spend $1 in terms of online marketing, what should I be expecting to get out of my system?
So generally it's expressed as a marketing, like a budget. So if you have a 10% marketing budget, that means of all your revenue, you're spending 10% of that. So I believe that comes out to a 9 ROAS or something like that, a 9X, something like that. I'm having ChatGPT do a conversion chart for us right now. Let's see.
Just like one of my
Oh man,
students.
it did something.
When is ChatGPT going to sponsor our damn podcast? I feel like we're just keep pushing it up. But, I think one of the reasons we got on this topic, Parker, which I know there's a disdain for this with a lot of folks, including myself, but these lead aggregator sites, gosh, they frustrate me so much. What I like about your message as Signature is you kind of take this approach of like, beware of them. Don't use them just because they're easy, right? So take us through your mindset around that and why you advise against it.
Sure. And just to correct my poor math earlier, 10% marketing budget is a 10 ROAS, and that makes a lot more sense. Every dollar you spend. I was like, why is it not? Yeah, I pulled up the calculator there.
Yeah.
So lead aggregators.
Gosh, they're so frustrating. Ugh.
Yeah, you got a few of them. I don't want to name drop because.
Oh, no, you can name drop them. And just list, I hate giving money to them damn guys.
Yeah.
Or that dang gal. I hate giving money to Porch and all these damn things and Thumbtack and, and if you're out there, we only got like 5-6 listeners, so we're good. But if you are out there and you work for these companies, I may change my mind if you sponsor my podcast, but that'd be about it. Actually, no, I wouldn't. I wouldn't sell out that bad. Sorry. Go ahead, Parker.
What it comes down to, and I always tell my clients that for every dollar you give them, you know what they're doing with it? They're competing with you. They're doing SEO, trying to get leads on the cheap and then sell them to you and 5 to 6, maybe 10 more contractors. So you go to sites. I just did an evaluation for another foundation repair company out in California, and they showed me their marketing spend and what sources they're getting, how many leads they're getting from each source, and networks came up. Ends in an X, network. Yep. Yeah, with an X. And they showed that they spent $500 and got 25 leads. And I'm like, my God, I mean, if you're getting that, double down, because I cannot do anything better than that. But I was like, I'd be curious though, because, this is a lead aggregator. So 10 other contractors got this lead. It was like, came out to like $25 a lead or something. I A bunch of other contractors got this. I'm like, did you close any of those jobs? What is your ROAS? How much money did you actually make? Because you can look at cost per lead all day and say, oh, that looks low, good. But that's not, the story doesn't really end there. So you want to find out, did you close jobs? Your closing rate could be horrible for those. The first contractor to call them back or to call that lead usually gets the appointment. If you're the fifth, forget about it. They're going to just block your number probably.
So it's that concept that you want that quality, not that quantity, right?
Right. So that's something we've started to do is track our lead sources, not just report to our clients on how many leads you got from organic, how many you got from Google Ads, but how many of these did you do estimates for, how many of these actually turned into jobs, and how much revenue did you make? Then we can see, okay, I spent this much here and I made this much, therefore my ROAS, you can get that number. And that is really the only thing you ever need to look at, ROAS. And for this networks, is very low. I think it's like 4. So when you convert that to a marketing budget, you're spending 25%, I believe, on it. And nobody wants to do that. So why do it at all? That's kind of the thing. Reinvest that in your other marketing line items that are giving you a much better return. Then you can get more leads, higher quality leads for the same amount of money, if not spend the same amount and get that many more leads in sales. So you got to dig deep sometimes on those lead aggregators.
Well, I think that's a great segue here because when we were talking before, Parker, you were throwing out some case studies and some numbers. And in the back of my head, I was like, wait a minute, let me think through this, because all the numbers you were using were ranging from like 1% to 5% marketing on spend by percentage. It goes so much against the grain to what like a lot of folks think they should be spending. We see folks spending 15% on revenue sometimes, and then to hear you're having success at that 1 to 5 range. So how are you achieving that 1 to 5? What's the strategy there?
Yeah, so it really starts with visibility. So when you have an average spend, you have stuff that's way over that, and you have stuff that's way below that. You have really efficient campaigns, and you have very inefficient campaigns. If you could see that, I think any of us would just eliminate the stuff that's like 20, 25%, just get rid of it. And then your number's going to come down right away and reallocate that money. We've had clients that have come on and they're spending 15%. They're struggling. They're not getting the leads that they need. They're running TV. They're running billboards. They're just hemorrhaging money. And they can't figure out why it's not generating leads. And we peel back the curtain. We look at where their leads are actually coming from, and that starts in CallRail. Hopefully they have it. If they don't, we set it up, make sure we can actually see that. And usually we've had many instances where we've totally cut TV and the leads didn't drop. So that was with Regional Foundation Repair out in North Carolina. They were doing a lot of TV media buying. When you don't know, you don't know.
Yeah.
He had to do what he had to do. I told him, hey, I'm seeing most of your leads are coming from your Google Ads and your organic. There's nothing really here that would indicate it's coming from TV directly. So try reducing your spend, see what happens. And he was surprised to find that nothing really changed. And we were able to reallocate some of the budget and find some areas of extreme waste on his Google Ads. I can elaborate on that later if you'd like. But yeah, he was able to bring that all the way down. And you mentioned a couple of the case studies that we talked about. So I don't know if you want to like beep out when I say the business names or anything like that.
Just say this one rich guy that we helped in this area, this other rich guy we helped out in this other area.
There you go.
By the way, I know the individuals, but yeah, let's just keep it to the city
Yeah, keep it.
that you service.
Yeah.
And by the way, the only one name I will say on here, and I hope he's listening. I love him to death. But I know one of your customers is Corey Parks. He was on an episode several weeks ago. And, if you can help out that dumb redneck of a guy, surely you can. I'm just kidding. Love you, Corey. If you're listening, I mean, that is a joke. We're both Carolina boys, so we got that southern drawl that comes out of us every once in a while. But anyway, sorry, Parker. Go ahead.
Yeah, no. Love you, Corey.
Yeah. Love you, Corey.
Corey, I didn't insult you, Corey. I just want to put that out there.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, playing nice, you brown noser. Anyway.
Terry's Sport's favorite now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we had a client out in the Bay Area. The Bay Area of California that I started working with, I think back in 2019 or so, they were about 8 million in revenue. We came in, fixed up some stuff, started rolling out the SEO content strategy that I had outlined for them. And within 3 years, they were 20 million plus and sold to a major buyer in the space. And at the end of that, they had, I believe, from what I could see, it was under 2% marketing spend. And I think my company was about the only line item next to yard signs.
Wow.
So it's like it was either yard signs that did it or signature media. But yeah, so 1 to 2%, that was an extreme case. I do not promise that to anybody that I work with. I mean, every market's different. That's one thing I've learned for sure. So we also had another client in Nebraska. Came on board, they were about 3 million. They were a referral, that company in California. And they were about 3, maybe 4 million, and they just hit 13, if I'm not mistaken, and they were at about a 3% marketing budget too. So the company in California, up until the day they were bought, they only had a $2,500 a month Google Ads budget. So there was no expenditures really, and they were just crushing it.
By the way, that was a great kind of comparative. You have Bay Area, California versus, the breadbasket of America. But still, two very competitive markets in that space. So, obviously, I feel like we're in a competitive market here in my home area of Oklahoma City. But if I were to compare it to, say, a Dallas, Texas, boy, that's way more competitive. And I would say just as competitive as the two markets that you mentioned. But I think this is a good pivot here, Parker, because I didn't even think about this, but one of the things that you help with is kind of this slow month to busy month strategy. We're all seasonal in our business. We have ups and downs. And what have you seen in trying to set a strategy up from slow months to busy months?
Yeah, so I've time and time again been surprised. Just the slow months roll around and I get the frantic phone calls. What's going on? We're not getting leads. Help me. And I'm like, all right. I mean, are we really that slow, or is this kind of where it was the same time last year? And then we do some homework and, oh yeah, it was like this last year too. And so, we don't have to let those slow periods creep up on us. There's a nice little formula that we use where you plot out how many leads you got, or appointments, whatever you want to do, month over month for, say, the last 5 years or however many years. And you take the total number of leads for each year, and you determine what percentage of the total that you get in each month historically, and you average out that percentage over a few years. Then you can start to see, all right, in January, we get 12% of our leads for the year. I mean, that's just a random example. Or, November, it goes down to 5%. And you see this average over a longer period of time. November is going to be slow. There's nothing you can do to change that. If it's consumer behavior, people are locking down for the holidays, they're not going to maybe do something, or it's getting cold, different areas, it's different. But you can tell what your business is like by doing that little exercise. And now when you're planning for the next year, 2025, you know how many leads you need to hit your revenue goal for the whole year. Don't just divide that evenly by 12. It does not work like that. You want to apply that percentage that you discovered for January, February, and then that is your monthly lead goal, because now it's accounting for your ups and downs. So you don't have to panic when things get slow. We don't have to say, oh man, there was a 50% drop from last week. What are we going to do? No. You expect these things to happen throughout the year. So now that empowers you to plan. So if it's going to be like pulling teeth in November, your leads are going to be slow, costs go up, right? Because Google Ads is a supply and demand thing. There's going to be more contractors needing leads and less supply. So those costs, we've seen them go up 10x in a slow period compared to the previous month. Spending $800 or more per qualified lead. So you want to plan for that. And something that may or may not be practical, but it would probably be cheaper to offer your clients a discount, schedule their work during that time, than it would be to get a new lead during that time. If you have to give them a few $100 off, that's going to be better than paying, $800 plus for a new lead during that time. So it helps to just plan ahead for that.
Now, Parker, when after this comes out and contractors are listening to it and they come to that point where they understand I need to bring someone in to help me with SEO, what do they need to be looking for or double checking when hiring a person or firm to help them in this space?
That is the $1,000,000 question, right? So one thing that I would say, maybe not one thing, a few things, know your goals. Always have goals. With any other part of your business, you have KPIs, you have goals, you know what each person should be doing, what they should be producing. With SEO, the goals typically would look, we talked about the bottom of funnel keywords, the transactional keywords. Those are the money keywords, the ones you want to rank for. You can track that. So you can see, where do I rank for HVAC near me or foundation repair near me in a specific city, zip code? There's tools that will show you, it'll change the IP address to be a certain city, perform the search, and then tell you where you showed up. That result will be different in any location you go to. So you can measure that. SEO agencies, they know how to do that. So if you are number 50 on Google for your most important keyword, the most important near me keyword, and in your most important city, then set a goal. I want to move from position 50 to 5. What do we have to do? I mean, that if you do that, you will have the visibility for a high volume, high demand search. And you're going to rank for more than just that one keyword, by the way. It's not like one page on your site will only rank for one thing. But set goals and make, don't bully your SEO team, but have them outline the plan. How are we going to do this? Please report on this specific ranking in our meetings. I want to know how we're doing. And that will tell you pretty quick, actually. You wouldn't have to wait 6 months to a year to find out if this company is going to do anything for you. And that's a big trap, too, just waiting for that long. So set the goals, measure it, measure and report, and that'll be a good first step.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that before, Parker, about show me a case study where you executed that for somebody else. And I think we just, gosh, man, we get so caught up into I don't know, the sales whirlwind that happens when we're getting hit by 15 digital marketing agencies a day. And then obviously it's well, you don't know until you fully buy in, because then, that there's more hands in the cookie jar, and it's a mess. Which, by the way, it's funny. Terry was making a comment on here in our podcast document about, to be clear, Parker, some of the questions that we have asked you today have been from the perspective of, we want to create good content for our listeners, right? And we make a joke that there's 5 of them out there. We know there's 7. But I have been traditionally, for years, been a chronic marketing money waster in my own business. Yes, I'm just fucking throw money at it, and as long as that phone's ringing, I'm good. And we hear people like you and Dan Antonelli and other guests on our show that are just hey, you don't have to throw all that money at that, right? So that's why some of these questions we've got here maybe sounds like they're meant to be at beginner's level, but I mean, running a $16 million a year outfit, and it's yeah, damn, we could be reducing our spend on some of these. Good example, we got on the conversation today about billboards, right? And I think a lot of us in the younger days, we romanticize the idea of our company is on a billboard. And it's great, and it feeds our ego, but does it do anything for your fucking lead flow? No. So even today, I don't have any billboards, and there's some good digital products out there, of course. But then again, if you can't measure it, or it's ROAS, I'm going to start using that now all the time. So, Parker, before we wrap today, there's always a question we ask our guests, and I am known for being the patron saint of screwing it up. I'm so good at it that, I can at least brag about it. So what's a big screw up you had in your career that hopefully a listener out there could at least learn from it? You can brag about it a little bit.
Oh, yeah. The biggest and most valuable lessons I've learned were from screwing something up really bad. I've had websites go down. Yeah, that's something you want to make sure your SEO guy has done that once, because then they know how.
Oh, yeah.
Because that you will face some serious problems after doing something like that. But In my early days, I've made the mistake of losing a website. It deleted the files, didn't have a backup, had to rebuild it from scratch. That was
that the
bad.
one where you fell asleep on the keyboard that you mentioned on the your head hit the delete button?
Yeah, definitely. Working too late into the night with not enough caffeine. I only had 8 cups.
That gives me anxiety just thinking about it. But anyway, sorry, Parker, go ahead.
Yeah, that, and in the early days too, you can mess up things so bad. I was running Google ads, my first Google ads client. They were spending money for weeks, never said there was an issue, assumed they were getting the leads. Turns out they were not receiving the form submissions on the website. And that happens more often than you would think, actually. That's one of the first things I check for whenever I work with a new client. I test the form. Did you receive that?
Oh, I didn't.
Now my development team actually does a test every single day for every single client. It's super annoying, but I want to make sure those forms are working because stuff happens and they just stop working sometimes. And if you don't test that periodically, any little thing can go wrong and you'll stop getting those forms. It seems like we got to fight that constantly.
That's crazy, though. I tested that, by the way, Parker, after we got off the phone earlier. And I was like, I wonder if my forms are working. and I was lucky, and I'm knocking on wood. I was able to get a message back like from one of my call center people, like, was that just a test? Or are you drunk again with Terry? Hey, yeah,
Just
yeah.
testing
No.
you passed.
I'm drunk with Terry. Let's blame it on Terry. Hey, don't worry, Terry. Have you been a scapegoat for?
No.
Or have I been a scapegoat for you ever? With
No, I've actually, but strangely enough, I've called your company before trying to get information, and lo and behold, they'll hit me back up very professionally, and I'm like, it's working. I should tell you this because it's a positive, but
well, no. Well, you're not telling the full story, Paul Harvey. I think you called my office asking for me and something in my warehouse, and nobody would let you get through to me. And I'm like, nice. Yeah, it's working. And I don't know what that was, but.
Well, I do know that you don't have keys to your warehouse. I have been informed
they
of that.
locked me out.
You go into their business's warehouse and you can get access to anything. Will can't, but
Yeah, we needed something behind our gate where all of our product is, and Terry needed something, and nobody, like, I didn't have a key, nobody had a key, but they kept it in a hidden spot, and you got to have like a retina scan, not a rectal scan.
Nope.
A retina
that's the
scan.
two-factor.
two-factor identification on that one.
There's some 2-stage authentication for you. Hey, oh man. But anyway, Parker, I am super happy that you came on today, because it's one of those where, anytime we can get a chance to present some thinking, and you pushed against the grain of my thinking earlier that, like, no, marketing should be less and get better results. And that's what we need to hear, especially with rising costs all over the place. So with that, I respect kind of your practice on this. And so how do people get a hold of you if they want to learn more about Signature?
Yeah, you can go to our website, signaturemedia.com, or you can send me an email, parker@signaturemedia.com. Now I'm going to get a bunch of spam.
Nah, our 6 listeners, they don't spam.
Yeah, they're going to spam. Now, I'll be happy to hear from anybody. I really love doing free consultations, so if I can, I'll squeeze you in. I like to give the client, or any client, anybody I'm speaking to, just visibility. Let's look at the reality of your situation and see where the little levers are that you can pull to bring that average spend down. And that's usually something that leads to good things.
Well, and I didn't mention it. I think that's one of the weird contradictions, and in a good way, Parker, that from a marketing person, you're actually trying to convince them to spend less. And we should have brought that up
more with us on SEO and content, but less to Google.
That's right. So, but that's cool. Well, listen, I appreciate you, Terry. I appreciate you bringing beverages today, and I appreciate you as a human being. I know we gave each other a little bit of shit today, but I appreciate you as always. To you out there, you 5 or 6 listeners, appreciate you guys. And next week, we will see you on another episodes of Beers with Contractors. Have a good one. Oh, and listen to our disclaimer at the end about drinking responsibly.
Always.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of Beers with Contractors. We hope you enjoyed our chat as much as we did. Before we say our final goodbyes, a friendly reminder. Beers with Contractors encourages responsible drinking. If you choose to enjoy a beverage during our time together, please do so in moderation and only if you're of legal drinking age in your country or state. Furthermore, the advice and insights shared in this podcast are for informational purposes only. Always consult with professionals and experts in your field, and be sure to follow local laws and regulations regarding licensing and permits. We're here to help, entertain, and inspire, but your safety and compliance are important. So, as you head out into the world of construction and contracting, remember to build responsibly and make decisions that stand the test of time. Thanks for joining us today. We'll catch you on the next episode of Beers with Contractors. Until then, cheers to your success.